Good morning, everyone. Let me officially welcome you to the Broward Workshop State of the County. We want to thank you for joining us at our 4th Annual County Forum. I'm Harry Moon, Chairman of the Broward Workshop, and we're going to watch a brief video of the workshop so that you might have a better understanding of who we are and what we do. But before we do that, I would like for Congressman Allen West to rise and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Congressman West.
Please join me in the pledge to the longest-running constitutional republic that the world has ever known, these United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Congressman. Well, thank you, and we're delighted that so many elected officials could be here with us this morning. We'd like to recognize State CFO Jeff Atwater for his participation in our video, and we'd like to recognize the following individuals: Congressman Allen West, State Senator Ellen Bogdanoff, Florida Representatives Jeff Brandes, George Moriartis, and Franklin Sands. We also want to recognize Broward County Mayor John Rodstrom and our county commissioners, our constitutional officers, school board commissioners and members, city commissioners, city managers, county and city department and agency directors. Virtually every community is represented here by many of the individuals that are responsible for the management of our cities and communities. And I would like to thank the members of the Broward Workshop who made this morning possible. And if you could please just stand to be recognized, the members of the Broward Workshop. Thank you. There are over 830 attendees this morning. It's a testament to how strongly we feel about our great community, our state, and our county. We appreciate you joining us as we continue to explore ways to look at and deal with the critical issues that are naturally part of a diverse and growing community. Today we will hear opinions and experiences from the chairman of the largest auto retailer in the United States, from a nationally renowned educator and political scientist on public policy, and from one of the nation's most well-known financial experts. As we listen to these individuals, we will gain perspective and reflect on what our own community's issues are. And first, I would like to introduce the mayor of Broward County, John Rodstrom.
Good morning. It is my great honor to be here this morning. I want to first thank the Broward Workshop for having this breakfast, and I also want to welcome the guests here that are in attendance, and I also want to acknowledge the Board of County Commissioners, but I'll save that for last. There's one word to describe the state of Broward County, and that word is Broward County is strong. For the next few years, you're going to be hearing a lot about different areas of the country. You're going to hear about Stockton, California. You're going to hear about Jefferson County, Alabama. You're going to hear about uncompensated pension liabilities, and you're going to hear about post-employment benefits, things you've never heard about before. And unfortunately, you're going to learn about Chapter 9, because many of the governments around us have not done the job they needed to do. You're going to learn about states like New York, California, Illinois, Connecticut. But one thing you're not going to hear about is Broward County, because 4 years ago, Broward County sat down, the Board of County Commissioners, and mapped out the next 4 years. And at the time, we didn't know we were going to be in this long recession. We thought it was a one-off. But as we sat down with our county administrator, Bertha Henry, we had a list of cuts that we needed to make. We had them in 1, 2, and 3 tiers. And I remember that first year as we spent hundreds of hours in workshops going through every line item in the budget. And we went through Tier 1 and we said we could never get to Tier 2. And then the next year came, and we started to eat into Tier 2. And by the fourth year into this awful recession, we had gone through many of the Tier 3 cuts, if not most of them. But you know what? Broward County is a different place today. Broward County, where we had 7,000 employees 4 years ago, we're down to 5,000 now. Our employees, to their credit, took pay cuts. They took furlough days. They worked side by side with us to save jobs. And so as we came out of this recession, as we're coming out of this recession, and for the first time, we're seeing an increase in our tax rolls, possibly. We're hoping so. And for the first time, we're seeing our sales tax increase. Because during this whole period, we could not raise your taxes, because how do you raise taxes for people when they're being forced out of their homes? So that was never an option to raise revenue. But what I'm here to tell you is that we're strong. It's our legacy that we leave behind for those older commissioners who have served, and the challenge for the new ones to continue the fiscal responsibility. Because when it's all said and done, we emerge from this recession with a AAA credit rating. Do you know what that means? It means that we can pay our bills better than the United States of America. That's what the rating agencies have said about Broward County. So I will tell you, having done this job for now 20 years and getting ready to retire from politics, that many people say government should run like a business. And you know what? We run like a business as much as government can run like a business. But we're here to serve you, the public, and to provide for you the services that the private sector cannot provide. And so it'll never run like a business. But what we can hope to do is run it efficiently. So I would like to acknowledge my colleagues, Vice Mayor Kristen Jacobs, Suzanne Gunsberger, Eileen Lieberman, Lois Wexler, Stacy Ritter, Barbara Sharif, Dale Holness, and Chip Lamarca. So in closing, when you're out and about around the country and people ask you where you're from, you tell them you're from Broward County and we're strong. Thank you. And I'm sorry, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, go Panthers.
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to have a little change in the schedule. Our next speaker is Carol Weissert. She is a Ph.D. with the LeRoy Collins Institute. She is an eminent scholar and chairman of the civic education and political science areas of the LeRoy Collins Institute. Her career focus has been on issues related to federalism and the integrated relationships of state and health organizations and policies. She has composed a seminal work on a report card for our municipalities and our cities, and compiled that work in a wonderful way. Her talk this morning is Tough Choices Facing Florida's Governments, its report card, Florida Municipal Pension Plans. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Carol Weissert.
Good morning, Broward County. I'm very impressed to see so many important people out such an early morning. I'm delighted to be here today, and I want to talk a little bit, as Dr. Moon said, about two issues. The issues relate to trends in local spending in Florida and in Broward County, spending and revenues, and then pensions, which is kind of the issue of the day. The LeRoy Collins Institute is part of Florida State University. I'm a professor there. And what we do is we study issues that we think are major policy issues affecting the people of Florida that maybe haven't been dealt with by other people. And I submit that the state-local relationship issue is one of the really important issues in facing Florida today, and I think we're about the only group that's really looking at that. Let's see if this works. I hope you can see these slides. If you can, I'll walk them through this with you. This, you can get the trend of this, right? The blue line's going up, all right? And the businessmen in the audience and even non-businessmen can figure this out. And what this is these are revenues. These are county revenues across the state of Florida beginning in 1976. So the bottom on the left-hand side is 1976, and the right-hand, it ends in 2009. This is, you might say, well, of course it's going up because of inflation. These are inflation-adjusted per capita revenue dollars for all Florida counties from 1976 to 2009. So you can see there's a bit of increase in the blue line. What you can also see is at the very end, there's a real steep drop, and that, of course, is the mayor and others have talked about, relates to the recession. And the last few years have been really hard on local government revenues. And unfortunately, we don't have the 2010 data yet, but I think we would see that line kind of going down from there. The red line is Broward County. So you can see that Broward County follows the rest of the state. It's a little bit lower. You have large many cities in Broward County that do a lot of functions, so you're a little bit lower than the rest of the state, but definitely the trend is the same. And this is intergovernmental revenue. This is state aid. I like this one because you would think that when times are sort of tough for local government, that the state would step in and help you out. Nah, doesn't happen that way. Because what you see is from the very end, in the years 2008, 2009, state aid drops too. So at the very time when counties and your county need state support, the state's not there. This is expenditures. Again, you're the red line, the blue line. These are controlled for inflation. Again, you'll see the same pattern, a steady uptick over a period of time and then a pretty sharp drop. This is one of my favorite slides. This is across all counties in Florida, and this divides it out by function. And the bottom two lines that are pretty flat represent culture and recreation and human services, social services. So those have remained flat in terms of where counties spend their money. The red line is roads and streets, and that's gone up. The blue line is public safety, and the public safety line has gone up steadily. All the lines have really dropped in the past couple of years. And this is Broward County, so you'll see that Broward County follows, again, the state trends completely. So what does this tell us? This tells us that the counties in Florida for a long time were doing pretty well. The economy was really going strong, and they were able to get revenues, and they were able to provide services for the citizens. In the last few years, the world's changed in counties in Florida, and the state isn't helping it out very much, I think, in terms of what's going on. But and the other thing that this shows you is that the priorities of the counties really are for public safety in terms of that spending. We're also doing some other work that I want to mention as well on state mandates in a variety of other areas, but I'm not going to really talk about that today. I think what you're primarily going to be interested in is pensions, and let me talk a little bit about that. When I was preparing yesterday to come down here, I have a whole stack of newspaper reports across Florida on what's going on in pensions, so this is not a terribly systematic way to do it, but just going through my stack of things, I found 25 cities in Florida that are trying to get a handle on their pensions. That's the good news, right? The bad news is they're in trouble. The good news is they're trying to get a handle on it. And it's the ones that you know about, the Miami Beach, Hollywood, Jacksonville, perhaps, Sarasota, Lakeland, Clearwater. But it's a geography lesson for me as well, because it's Temple Terrace, Lyons, Titusville, I know, Winter Springs, Bel Air, Bluffs. So you get a mixture of small and large cities that are trying to get a handle on their pensions. What's happened in pensions? Well, what's happened in particularly municipal pensions in Florida is that the promises that we have made to our public service employees are not funded. So we've made a lot of promises, and the cities are not able to fund them. I'm going to talk mainly about cities because counties are part of the Florida retirement system and are in a little bit different situation there. Well, the Florida retirement system is well funded, and so they are a little bit different. Here's another table. Now, this does include counties and cities, but this shows you, this is the pension contributions as a proportion of total government expenditures, and it's around 6% or something like that now, and you think, well, that's not so bad, but this is total government expenditures, and the other thing about that line is it's going up. So what we've seen, is that for cities and counties, there's more and more of their revenues going into pensions. Now, a lot of people say, when they say pensions, well, of course we're in trouble with pensions because the economy just tanked. So when the economy tanked, the assets of the pensions fell, and therefore we were in trouble. And that is part of the story, because indeed the assets, just as your and my assets fell, the pension assets fell. But what this shows you is that's not the whole story. Now, the light bars on the right are the liabilities, and the darker ones are the assets. So basically you want the dark line and the white line and the lighter line to be the same. But going back, and the far number there is 1998. Going back from 1998, we were much closer in terms of the assets and liabilities. But then even in that period of time, 2003, 2004, 2005, which were really boom years in Florida, you saw that difference being greater. So it's not totally a matter of the value of the assets, it's the promises that we're making and not able to keep. And this is another slide that just gives you some general idea. This is pension contributions as a percent of the payroll, and again, going up over time. These are cities. Everything else I'm going to show you now is cities. Okay, what we did, we stepped into the fray here. We decided that one of the things that we're trying to do is share our information with the public. And the pensions are one of these things that's pretty complicated. So what we've done, and what most academic groups and Pew and a variety of national groups have done, we do a sort of simple metric. And the metric is, what is the percent of the liabilities that are being covered by the assets? Okay, so if you've got 100%, that means you're fully covered. If you've got 80%, that means that there's a 20% gap between what you owe, what you promised, and what you actually have to pay for. And so being academics, we gave it a grade. Okay, so the A's are things that are at least 90% are funded. This is the same scale we use actually, but 90 and above is an A, and 80 and above, 80 to 89 is a B, and a C is in the 70s, and an F is a failure. And so what we did was here, these are municipalities in Florida, and you'll see that there's a big range. The good news is that 37% of the municipalities are A's or B's, which means that they're 80% or higher. But about 32% are D's and F's, and those are the ones that we're kind of most worried about. Whoops. Here's the Broward plans. I looked at 42 municipal plans in Broward, and these are the defined benefits plan. We didn't look at defined contributions. Broward didn't do so well as the rest of the state. You'll see that the A's and B's in Broward are 17% compared to 37% for the state. So you're a little short on the A's and B's. On the D's and F's, you have 38%, which is actually a little in the range of the rest of the state. You have a lot more C's. So Broward municipal plans, a little bit of a mixture. This one you probably can't read, but let me tell you the numbers. We also looked at, and these are plans, right? And most municipalities have a general employee plan, a fire plan, a police plan, and sometimes they have fire and police. And so what this shows you is the different categories here, and the blue at the bottom is general employees, the red is police, the green is firefighters, and the purple, I think, is a mixture. But what this tells you is the blue, you can see that the blue general employee plans tend to get better grades. And so there's a bigger batch of the blue. But you see a number of fire and police and mixture plans that are also getting A's. So what that tells us is, while there may be some difference between what's